No, the past is a foreign country. They do things differently there, except for when they don't, because every Tuesday on this show and on our Times Radio History YouTube channel, the historian Ian Wilson joins me for our regular feature, If Only We'd Known, explaining why actually the present rather closely resembles the past. And today, we're talking about exiled royals. Following Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's banishment from Royal Lodge last week, exiled to a smaller property on the Sandringham estate. Ian Wilson, welcome.
Hello, Hugo. Of course, we're only talking about going to as far as Norfolk, whereas some of the other people we're thinking about live rather farther away.
It's still a banishment, even if it's only Norfolk.
It is. It's internal exile.
Internal exile, I like it. Look, Andrew Morton told Times Radio yesterday he thinks Andrew will probably end up living abroad.
I agree.
Where could he go?
That's the problem.
Yes.
I mean, it's possible that one of these Arab countries where he's been a trade envoy, I mean, it's rumoured, isn't it, that one of them has offered him a palace.
Duke of Dubai.
The Duke of Dubai.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be the way forward. And also, I mean, quite honestly, in those kind of places, very few people, even the paparazzi, won't want to follow him around all the time. Whereas in Norfolk, it's easy just to get on a train and sort of, if there's nothing else on the front page, to take a picture of him slumped over the wheel of some Range Rover and looking miserable and probably being excluded from a golf club. And I imagine he quite likes nice warm weather and all those sort of things.
Right, okay, yeah.
I mean, we know that he had a villa in Switzerland or a ski chalet.
Didn't that get sold?
That was sold.
Yeah.
But I mean, he might go back to Switzerland.
So
a lot of exiles live in Switzerland. I mean, if I'd been recommending anything to him, but he of course hasn't been asking my advice, I'd have said go and live in America, in spite of, and actually because of, the reason for the whole thing. Because I think, although obviously he's led a very sleazy life, it's not going to be possible to prove any of these so-called criminal allegations against him. We all think we know what happened, roughly speaking. But I mean, imagine getting up I don't want to be indelicate, getting up in court and trying to prove that somebody has had sex with a dead person. I mean, that's more or less impossible, I should have thought.
I'd imagine his lawyers are probably advising him not to go to America.
I'm sure, of course they are. And also, I imagine his family are begging him not to until the whole thing has been settled because of the embarrassment. But nonetheless, America is a great place to get lost in. That's the reason I'm saying that. Well, obviously, the previous royals, you think of the King of England, Edward VIII, who was sent abroad to become the Duke of Windsor. Churchill had this rather brilliant idea during the Second World War of making him the governor of the Bahamas. And he did feel that terribly as exile, because it was a tin pot job in a very small place. I'm sure
Andrew would be delighted to be made governor of the Bahamas today. Look, so the royal family has got a long history of getting unwanted family members out of the way. Tell us about some.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you go back to the times when this country decided it didn't want to be a Catholic country, it didn't want to have Stuart Catholic monarchs, so we sacked James II. He went to France and he had a whole court in France, but that's not going to happen to Prince Andrew. And anyway, he's not a king. And then similarly, all the way through, I suppose the person that I'm not sorry for Prince Andrew, but I'm starting to feel gloomy about it. We were all me included, very spiteful and gleeful about the downfall. And what does a man who's quite honestly a bit thick, doesn't read books, might be excluded from golf clubs, and golf is one of the only things he likes doing. What's he going to do with his time?
He can't join Reform. He's a royal.
He can't join Reform. So, I mean, it is a bit worrying. And the figure that I keep thinking about is Bonnie Prince Charlie, who just drank himself to death in Rome after the failure of his rebellion. I mean, what is Prince Andrew going to do, whether it's internal exile in Norfolk or whether he's the Duke of Dubai?
Tell us about Ernest Augustus, the Queen Victoria's uncle.
Oh, well,
what happened with him?
He was rather a good one. Yes, I'd forgotten about him. Well, he was, I mean, she had a lot of bad uncles, but Ernest was the really wicked uncle. He was the Duke of Cumberland, and because of the strange law called the Salic law, where you couldn't inherit if you were a female, Queen Victoria didn't, like her male predecessors, become the King of Hanover when she became King of England. So it went to her uncle, and they were very, very pleased to get rid of him. He'd probably murdered one of his household servants when he was living in London.
Wow.
And he'd almost certainly been to bed with at least one of his sisters, possibly two. So he was a figure of, he makes the sins of Prince Andrew, whatever they are, the alleged crimes of Prince Andrew, seem very mild. He was a horrible man, and very dishonest too, and had a horrible long lawsuit with Queen Victoria to get all her jewels, which she succeeded in doing. He was hated, and I think if he'd ever become King of England, which he could have done if she died when she was having her first baby, he would have become King of England, Ernest, Duke of Cumberland. And I think there'd have been a republic in about a week. As there would be, I'm afraid, if very sadly, 8 people in the royal family died and King Andrew
came along. Is it less risky having a rogue royal around now than it was? I mean, one thinks. I mean, you mentioned Edward VIII earlier. He ended up going to Germany, having a controversial meeting with Hitler and so on. The Nazis had a plan to put him on the throne, didn't they? Well,
it was a plan that he shared, and I mean, all the evidence seems to be that that useful fellow Andrew Loney wrote an expose of the Windsors, and he wasn't just pro-Hitler, he was urging the Germans to bomb London and to kill his brother, the King of England, so he could become the king. So, I mean, he was a very dodgy and unpleasant and stupid person, Edward VIII, Duke of Windsor. I don't think Prince Andrew's in that league. He's just sleazy and unpleasant, isn't he?
Does it make you feel a little bit sorry for him that there are these far worse people in history, in the history of his family, such as Edward VIII? He got to be governor of the Bahamas, like you said. Was it Bermuda, Bahamas?
And I mean, you see
Ernest Augustus got to be the king of Hanover.
Bahamas. I was going to say the same thing, but you know what I mean. But I mean, the obvious job for Andrew would have been to become governor of the Falkland Islands, but he did have a heroic time as a helicopter pilot.
Yeah, we would have had to have done that a while ago, though. But it doesn't.
I was, I must say, a bit amazed when the last straw happened a couple of days ago, and they stripped him, or they said they're going to strip him of his rank as an honorary admiral in the Royal Navy. Because when you think of the number of admirals and captains in the Royal Navy who've had a dodgy sexual life, I mean, it seems a little bit hypocritical to pretend that we're so shocked by Andrew having.
Well, you wonder if there'll be something of a pro-Andrew backlash.
I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, but I do think we've got it a bit out of hand.
Right, understood. Well, look, what a lot we've learned, as absolutely always. Ian Wilson, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks so much, Hugo. Thanks, everybody.
Good to speak to you as ever. And look, if you enjoyed that feature and more history content, do head online to our history channel. Just search for Times Radio History on YouTube, and you will find it all there. Ian Wilson, thank you very much indeed.